So this one's for Alfie. Um, so you mentioned like people that you can start a business with are your friends beside you, like it might be a roommate and stuff like that. And they also can become your mentors and you grow with them and you learn from them. How do you stay professional and keep your friendship like dynamic while still like working on a company and trying to like reach goals and yeah.
That's a that's an interesting question because it's a question I'm asking myself today. Because here, Steph and I are trying to do something new. You know, this in some ways started as a professional relationship. I joined ABSA. A year later, Steph joined ABSA. It started off as a professional relationship, and then we both realized that we were going to leave. And then there's the question of like, if we're going to leave and we're not going to be working together anymore, what is this? So I think what I'd really say, and one of the things that maybe is somewhat controversial to how the typical person might think right now, is, you know, there's a lot of talk about work-life balance and making sure you take care of your personal life and making sure that your work life doesn't get into your personal life. And I just find myself asking, like, since when do I have more than one life? It's like I'm one person with one job, with one family, with like I am only one person. And so the thing that has sort of helped me sort of navigate that landscape is thinking about my work, my personal life, and my hobbies as one thing. Yes, they're separate and they all have their place, but they are one thing. And so everybody who I do business with is a person who I know I'd be willing to be friends with. If I'm not willing to be friends with you, why do I want to be doing business with you? Like, it's clear that there either there isn't an alignment in values, or maybe granted we might be in different industries, but it might be that maybe we don't do business together, but our businesses collaborate. And I think one of the things that has really helped me sort of blur the lines between the professional and workspace without actually harming the relationships is considering all of the relationships as one thing. There isn't a business relationship between me and Steph that's separate from a friendship with me and Steph that's also, separate from the hobbies that we like to pursue together. There is Alfie and there is Steph. And there are many projects that we do in between with that relationship. And some of them are work projects, some of them are personal projects, some of them are just wasting time and relaxing. And I think that's okay. And so what I'd really recommend is when you meet a person, understand that that person could either be a person that you start a business with, they could be a person who leads you to the person who you start a business with, it could be the person who just tells you an interesting story and you never see again. And that's okay. Because, and when I was mentioning the sort of approach of reciprocity, you kind of go in knowing that you're going to be giving when you meet this new person. You're coming there with something to give. And sometimes what you're giving is your attention and your focus to let them share, as Lo sort of mentioned. And there may come a time where you ask for something more. Maybe you ask them, like, I've been thinking about this thing of podcasting, and I've never really done it before, and I'm kind of figuring in my way out. And then maybe the person that you're talking to says, oh, I've been thinking about that as well. And then the Edit Undo podcast starts, and very many years later, you find yourself in a sofa in front of a couple of different people, one of whom might be someone who I start a business with. Or maybe I'll never see you again. Who knows? But the thing that I think you should really focus on is treating it as if that person could be the person that changes your life, but expecting nothing. Because I think it's when you have the expectation that every conversation will lead into a transaction or some kind of business, like people can see that. If they know that you're just talking to them to get something, then they don't really feel like you're genuinely asking. They feel like they're just. It's kind of like when you open YouTube and it's busy loading and you know it's gonna be that ad first before you actually get to watch the video that you wanted to watch. It's the exact same thing. But when somebody comes to you and they ask you, for example, about your siblings, and they ask you about a book, like what do your siblings do? What does that look like? What are you passionate about? And they actually genuinely care. Then, when you have told me your entire life story, I can then compare what you've told me to the things that I love, the things that I'm passionate about, and see maybe there's an opportunity for business, maybe not. Maybe I just need to have another conversation for you to make the room for you to share, the next thing. And so I think what I would say, and I would love it if Lo and Lauren, if one of you might chime in, because one of the things I think that I've struggled with is how do you change a relationship that already has one context into a space? And I think, because you might have been in the industry for a little bit longer, you might have had some friendships that eventually turned into business relationships, or business relationships that eventually fell through, but the friendships survived. Is there anything that you might be able to share with the rest of the audience on that matter?
You want to go?
I'll go. Because immediately the
Yeah,
history
this
was
is-
playing on my mind. I was like, this is so bad. I like to define the difference between am I doing work for a friend or are we collaborating? Collaborations are incredible. When you do work for a friend, it is a disaster. My rule is I've done it twice and it did not end well. I'll just put it frankly. So my rule is I'll collaborate with a person who, as I would say, feel that vibe. You understand this is going to be really magic, but I will never physically do graphic design or creative work for a friend or family member. I've cut it off and it's been the best decision I ever made. It is difficult, especially when you're starting up and you want to gain that experience, but they will take you for granted. You will often do stuff for free when you shouldn't be. Please make stuff for free as a creative, please. That's like the biggest advice I could ever give. But that's where you have to find that fine line. And I'm willing to collaborate with this person. It might be magic, it might be a disaster, but really, I would personally put my foot down of doing physical work for a friend or family member.